We're live.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the meeting of Merton Council's Cabinet for today, Tuesday the 22nd of June. Thank you for all coming. Just to explain the way that it's going to work tonight, just say that we're having this meeting as a hybrid meeting. We are forced by the government to have some of the meeting in person in the Civic Centre. So we've ensured that there is a quorum of people in the council chamber today, but in order to minimise the risk of spread of the disease, and also to fit in with the work-life balance of many of the people who work in Merton, and many of us councillors, the majority of us are not going to be in the council chamber. However, for technical reasons, within the council chamber, I've appointed officially as the chair of this meeting the deputy leader of the council, Eleanor Stringer. So she will be the official chair of the meeting, and even though I'll be leading it on Zoom. So the first item that we have is apologies. There are, I suppose, technically apologies from everybody except the three that are in the chamber, but actually all councillors on the cabinet are present, either online or in person. Are there any declarations of interests? I should say that members should state whether they have a personal or prejudicial interest and on what basis they have this interest. I can't see any, so we'll take that as there being none. Then item 3 is minutes of the minutes of the meeting held on the 22nd of March 2021. Can those be agreed? I can see nobody dissenting, so we'll accept that as a given, and we'll move on to the first main item of business tonight, which is item 4 on the agenda, the local plan and policies map, submission to Secretary of State, and to lead on that is the cabinet member, Councillor Martin Martin.
Sorry, just getting the microphone working. I formally move the recommendations in the report. This report is to give the formal approval for submission of the report for independent examination, which will be preceded by a 6-week consultation between July and September 2021 in advance of its submission for independent examination. This is the document which will set the planning strategy and policies for the borough alongside site designation for new developments. Once adopted, the plans and the map will be the main reference point guiding planning decisions in the borough. This has been a process that's been ongoing since late 2017, which has been prepared in line with statutory regulations, informed and improved by a total of 9 months of public consultation, local and national research, and the latest data from a variety of sources. It is also in conformity with the Mayor's London Plan and National Planning Policy Framework. The plan incorporates many supplementary planning documents, 2 of which will be considered by Cabinet tonight. This report will also be considered by BPAC, the Borough Plan Advisory Committee, on the 1st of July. Normally it would have been before Cabinet, but due to the timetabling, it will take place after Cabinet. This will then be submitted to full council in July, which will give the final sign-off. With that up-to-date planning policies, the National Policy Planning Framework and other material considerations can be used to guide local planning decisions rather than adopted local council policy. This means that local issues may not be able to be adequately considered in decision-making, especially at planning appeals. As a plan, we have taken into account feedback from the public and have made a number of amendments. One of the major items was tall buildings in Colliers Wood, and as a result, we have incorporated changes that no building should be higher than the existing tower. Last year as well, we adopted a climate change strategy and action plan, which followed on from a declaration of a climate emergency 2 years ago. The local plan has made the tackling of the causes of climate change and managing its effects one of its key strategic priorities, and it is now embedded throughout the plan. The plan also promotes healthy streets through boosting local businesses and high streets, reducing pollution and supporting walking and cycling, which will help to create a local neighbourhood where residents Policies as well to support delivering the borough's commitment to net zero carbon by 2050, including on smaller sites. This was strongly supported by responses at the public consultation in early 2021 from across the borough. As we are aware, the government has introduced some significant changes to the planning system, including the expansion of what can be built without the need for planning permission, i.e. permitted development. The planning bill, which is going through Parliament, is also likely to have a significant on our powers to determine planning at permission and how land's designated if it does become law. We have, as a council, expressed our concerns about the bill, which will remove much democratic oversight on planning and on land designation. The consequential changes arising out of the Grenfell inquiry is likely to see new building regulations, which may also well have an effect on planning policies. We did, however, think it was crucial that we did press ahead with the local plan so that we do have that policy framework in place, and we obviously continue to argue that government needs to change the proposals that have been made, which will be detrimental. Finally, I'd like to conclude by thanking the Future Merton team for all their work on the report, especially Tara Butler. It is one of the most important documents we produce as a council, and I ask for Cabinet approval for determination of this document at full council. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you, Martin. The lead officer on this is Chris Lee, lead director. Chris, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Fantastic. I think that Councillor Cooper Marbier, you just wanted to make a quick point about something that Martin raised.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thanks very much for the report, because many residents have expressed concerns about the proposed heights of buildings in Colliers Wood. So I welcome the fact that we've listened to residents' feedback and we are amending the local plan. But can you just advise me on what the full implication of this would be? Thank you.
I'd like to thank Councillor Cooper Marvier for her questions. I mean, the implications is that no building can be higher than the existing tower. I mean, I think we're all well aware of the application which was recently submitted for a building taller than the Brown and Root Tower. This wouldn't be in conformity with our planning policies, and we've been very clear on this matter, and we know it's a matter of much concern in the Colliers Wood and South Wimbledon community, which is obviously why we have made this change to reiterate that point. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anyone else wanting to say anything, so can we move to agree the recommendation A? Very good, that's agreed. So we'll move on to the next item, which is item 5, the adoption of Merton's Borough Character Study. That again is Councillor Welton.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to formally move the recommendations as set out in the report. The Borough Character Study was started in March 2020 using funding from the GLA's Home Building Capacity Fund. Future Merton commissioned architects, Allies and Morrison urban practitioners to undertake a borough-wide characterisation study. Once adopted, the Borough Character Study will help support the local plan and assist with assessing future planning applications. The role of the study is to highlight Merton's unique socio-economic, environmental and physical character and give design to future development to enhance the borough's built environment characters. It helps decision makers on planning applications to consider whether or not a proposed development would enhance, complement or detract from the character of its surrounding area. It also sets out the character of many smaller areas in the borough with guidance as to how new developments could either repair, reinforce or reimagine the area. It is similar to the Borough Character Study that was carried out for about 2/3 of Merton a few years ago. And it is my view that this will add considerably in terms of our planning policies. Likewise, at the small sites toolkit, as a borough, Merton is characterised by many small sites with fragmented land ownership. Lots of people own small amounts of land, such as houses with underused land, brownfield sites, and underdeveloped rooftops. High land values and property prices mean assembling a large site is expensive in Merton. Small sites have the potential to provide steady and incremental growth within the borough. Over the past 15 years, 90% of all planning applications Merton has received for new homes has been built on small sites. These are crucial to the much needed new homes, but can be challenging to design in established urban areas like Merton. This toolkit sets out architectural and urban design principles specifically to address the opportunities and challenges of delivering on those small sites, but also as well to improve the design quality of small developments across the borough. This response received over 100 people responding to our formal consultation on the draft borough character study. The feedback for each is detailed in the report. I would also like to take this opportunity of thanking Future Merton for their work on this document and ask that Cabinet adopts it. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And again, the lead director is Chris Lee. Chris, did you have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Chair. Happy to take questions.
No, very good. I have no, I think Martin's introduction spoke very well to this. I don't think that I can see anyone else wanting to speak. So what I suggest is we move to agree recommendation A again. Everyone in favour of that? Very good. Okay, thank you again to Martin and the Future Merton team under you, Chris, for all of that. Thank you. So now we move on again. It's another one being another item being led by Councillor Welton. It's the Plan Wimbledon neighbourhood area. Martin, do you want to lead on this?
Thank you, Chair. I formally move the recommendations as set out in the report. On the 19th of February, Merton Council received an application from Plan Wimbledon to become the neighbourhood forum for the proposed area, which encompasses Wimbledon. The proposed neighbourhood area lies entirely within the London Borough of Merton, but borders the London Borough of Wandsworth. The report follows in from the approval of a 6-week public consultation between the 12th of April and 23rd of May 2021 on the neighbourhood plan area, which is required under planning legislation on designating neighbourhood forums and areas. Under legislation, we have 13 weeks from the day after the first date of the first publication to make a decision whether or not to approve Plan Wimbledon as a neighbourhood forum for their proposed neighbourhood area of Wimbledon. Otherwise, their proposals have deemed consent. That date expires on the 13th of July 2021, which necessitates the need for us to make a recommendation on this report, which will go to full council. The consultation itself generated over 1,300 responses, with approximately 100 either anonymous or duplicates, which could not be included. Over 90% of the respondents were from residents and supported Plan Wimbledon's proposed area and forum. There were, however, objections to the proposal, including from people in Merton Park, who either wanted the whole of Merton Park to be within the Plan Wimbledon area or outside the area. We also had representations from the business community on the basis that the proposed area was too large and that businesses weren't adequately represented in Plan Wimbledon. I would like to draw colleagues' attention to the representation from the Wimbledon Business Improvement District, which covers businesses in central Wimbledon. Since the end of the public consultations, officers have considered all aspects of the proposal, including the public consultation responses and Plan Wimbledon's application against the set neighbourhood planning legislation and guidance. We have also received correspondence from Plan Wimbledon in June 2021, confirming an increase in the membership since the original application, their views on responses to the consultation, and their representation of business interests. It is therefore regrettable that agreement could not be reached, but having considered all the responses, we do not believe that it currently satisfies the criteria that must be taken into account by the Council under Section 61F, Part 7A of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990, in that its membership is not considered to be drawn from all places in the specified area or all sections of the community in that area. And further, its purpose does not reflect in general terms the character of the entirety of the area. As a council, we are therefore legally required to refuse the application for designation as a neighbourhood forum in relation to the specified area. We had hoped that some of the issues could be addressed with the council designating as a neighbourhood forum for a smaller area or areas other than those specified within its application, but we felt that these options could not be recommended at this present time. This is set out in more details in section 3 of the report under alternative options. Accordingly, it is recommended that the application for designation of Plan Wilmington as a neighbourhood forum is refused. The Court of Appeal has held that where a neighbourhood forum application has been rejected, the authority can decline to determine an application by that forum to designate a neighbourhood forum area on the basis that there'll be no organisation that is capable of being designated for the forum in relation to it. Cabinet is therefore recommended that as council declines to determine the applications for designation of the specified area as a neighbourhood area on this basis. We do, however, recognise the work that has gone into this plan for many well-intentioned people living in Wimbledon who are passionate about the area they live in. As there will be no designated forum or area at this time, we do hope that Plan Wimbledon and representatives of the business community can work together to resolve the issues set out in this report and will not act as a restriction to revised proposals for designations if they do come forward. As Cabinet member, I will work alongside officers and all parties to this, even up until the council meeting where this will be formally determined, and welcome further dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. That's very detailed and important report that you've just presented. The lead director again is Chris Lee. Chris, did you have anything you wanted to say in addition to the presentation just now?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Okay, I think that Councillor Pritchard, you wanted to just add something.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you to Martin and the team for the work they've done in this area. I know planning has been in the news a lot over sort of last 12 to 18 months, even with COVID going on. Firstly, because of big developers and big donors being seen to shortcut existing rules and legislations. Secondly, with the introduction of the planning bill, and then most recently, I suppose, with the falling of Chesham and Amersham, and more importantly, the reaction to the fall of Chesham and Amersham and its changing of political allegiance. It's important that developers and existing residents get their say in these matters, but it's also important business owners get their say. And it's even more important that those who are just desperate to get on to the housing ladder or even to get into a home are also considered in all of these debates. And I'm particularly mindful that whenever we look at forums and when we have these debates ourselves, we need to be mindful of everyone's views and not just be seen to be giving badges or legitimacy to those who might be slightly better organised in some circumstances. So I'm really pleased to see this decision, because I did have a number of concerns about the legitimacy of the views represented. So thank you, Councillor Walton.
Thank you. And I would like to say, in relation to Councillor Pritchard's point, he does obviously raise many very valid points. There does need to be buy-in from all parts, business and residents, to a plan if a neighbourhood forum plan is to be designated. But likewise, it needs to be representative of all age groups in terms of the consultation itself. I am concerned that quite a few young people, very low numbers of younger people responded. We hope that long term there can be some kind of resolution, but there does need to be buy-in from all parts of the community if an application is to be successful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Owen, and thank you, Martin. I'm very troubled, really, by a number of things that the government have done over the last few years with relation to planning issues. Including, allowing offices to be converted into some really, truly terrible flats some decisions that that residents have not had a chance to have their say on. There's also recently been the case of very large blocks of flats where 2 additional stories can be added within the planning legislation, and nothing that councils or residents can do about it. The disgrace, absolute disgrace of the government's policy around cladding and holding leaseholders to ransom, who have just tried to scrape together enough to get somewhere to live. And I think what we've demonstrated today is that because through not being able to determine this application, that there's yet another hole in yet another government policy towards planning. And obviously the process that they've instigated severely disenfranchises or disadvantages younger people who are probably some of the people who most need housing, in the way that the responses have tended to be overly from older residents. So there's a number of concerning things happening with the government, and I'd rather hoped that the government's planning reforms would have been rejected by Parliament. Very disappointing that it hasn't been, because of the approach that they've made. But with those points and tying what is happening here to those things, we do need to restrict ourselves to the paper itself. So can we agree to recommendations A to D? Okay, that's agreed. So we'll move on to the next item today, which is the adoption of Merton's draft air quality supplementary planning document. And again, it's Councillor Welton.
Thank you, Chair. Another supplementary planning document for Cabinet to consider. I formally move the report and recommendation and ask for the adoption of the air quality supplementary planning document. An 11-week consultation was carried out from November 2020 to February 2021 on this draft supplementary planning document, which received 34 responses. This was at the same time of the local plan consultation, and following feedback, we have made amendments to the SPD, which are in the report. Air quality can impact significantly on the health and well-being of the population, and of all the environmental factors, air pollution has the greatest impact. The planning system has a key role in protecting people from unacceptable risks to their health and well-being, in providing an adequate protection to the local environment. The purpose of the SPD is to guide developers, planning application committee and other interested parties to identify air quality issues to be addressed by way of development proposals. It also explains why tackling poor air quality is important, but emphasises the importance of air quality as a material planning consideration. The role of green infrastructure and design in improving air quality. It also provides as well a step-by-step guidance on the process of air quality assessments, how to carry them out, and when development proposals will need to submit air quality assessments. I would like to take this opportunity of thanking officers for all their work on this report and on the consultation. I formally ask that Cabinet adopts this supplementary planning document. Thank you.
Very good, thank you for that. And as previously, the lead director, Chris Lee, did you have anything that you wanted to draw out from the report that Martin has missed?
No, nothing to add, Chair.
Excellent. Okay, I can't see any Cabinet members wishing to speak. So thank you again to Chris, your team, and to Martin. Can we move to the recommendation that Cabinet adopts the air quality guidance as an SPD to Merton's local plan? That's good, that's agreed. So we'll move on to item 8. You're on a roll, Martin. This is another one for you. Item 8 is the Neighbourhood Community Infrastructure Levy Review.
Thank you, Chair. Another report to present to Cabinet, but again, I formally move the recommendations as set out in the report. The report has been brought before Cabinet to appraise people of the findings of the review into the spending of Neighbourhood SIL funding carried out throughout the spring of 2021. One of the recommendations here seeks additional support and flexibility for the implementation of the ward allocation scheme and seeks member endorsement for wholesale review to be carried out once every 3 years and to be completed after the local elections of May 2022. SEAL was introduced by this administration to have planning gain in terms of the development. It has brought millions of pounds into the council, but we also recognise as well that Neighbourhood SEAL has enabled many projects to be undertaken, with many community groups, businesses and other organisations bidding to the Merton Neighbourhood Fund. To date, bidding rounds have been held once a year, with 3 rounds so far in 2018, 2019 and 2020. We will shortly commence the next round in terms of Neighbourhood SEAL. There has been a wide range of investments from Neighbourhood SEAL, including shop fronts improvements, providing a heating system for a scout hut, supporting charities such as the Common Side Development Trust, Polka, Dean City Farm, supporting back to work employability programmes with over £100,000 of funding, community hub for BAME Voice and digital awareness programme. Many great projects which do help bridge the gap in Merton between the east and the west of the borough, which has been one of our key priorities. We also recognise as well that there's always lessons to be learnt in terms of any neighbourhood fund allocation and in terms of how that money is accessed. And we obviously do take on board, and that is why we are obviously providing additional officer support in terms of the ward allocation scheme. We recognise that many good projects have been funded across the borough. It also has given power to local councillors in terms of determining priorities for that area. Therefore, I ask Cabinet tonight to adopt this report. Thank you.
Thank you. And as ever, by the sounds of things, Chris Lee, you're the lead director on this. Do you have anything further to add?
Just to repeat that timetable point, really, Chair, about the opening of the bidding for Neighbourhood SIL monies in early July. A number of members have asked me about that, and I know it'll be of interest to community groups. So that will be launched in early July, and it's in 5.1 in the paragraph 5.1 in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Fantastic. And I'm scanning to see whether anybody wanted to speak, but I can't see anyone. So we'll move to the recommendations, which are 1 to 3. Can those all be agreed? Fantastic. Now, sorry, I just wanted to, the items 9 and 10 sort of come together, but I think it might be better actually to take item 10 first. Item 10 is in regards to SEN provision at Whatley Avenue. And I'm pleased to say we have a new Cabinet member to lead on this one, Councillor Eleanor Stringer.
I can ask Councillor Welton to talk about it if you like. Thank you very much, Chair. So as you say, the next 2 items are about the crucial role that we as a local authority play in ensuring that all children, no matter what their needs, get a high quality education and appropriate support. So firstly, this item 10, is about how we provide for the growing number of children with special educational needs, particularly a growing number with a diagnosis of an autism spectrum disorder. And I ask for your support for this recommendation. We are committed to increasing the number of local special school places for pupils who cannot be educated in mainstream schools. There's been a huge rise in pupils needing to be educated in the special school sector. And despite our work to increase the supply of education places, this has been outpaced by the growth in demand. Therefore, we have to send more and more pupils to independent, often out of borough special schools. This is not what parents want, and it's not what we want. We want to be able to provide high quality school places closer to people's homes. We want this provision to be flexible enough to cater for a range of needs, including allowing pupils to study for GCSEs, just like they would do in a mainstream school where appropriate. As well as being the right thing to do educationally, this is the right thing to do financially. Providing more special school places run by maintained schools reduces our spending on private school placements and the associated transport costs where those schools are far away. So I'm glad that this report shows that the officers have been working on options and developed this detailed, thoughtful proposal by working with the excellent existing special school, Melrose. A detailed search for sites identified one clear winner, the site at Watley Avenue next to Joseph Hood School, which was being used by the Harris Academy Wimbledon until the autumn. I'm glad, and I hope that local residents will be, that this site will continue to be used for education purposes and for the education of 80 vulnerable learners with additional needs. We are wholly committed to supporting pupils with special educational needs and disabilities to achieve well at school and in their wider lives. And this proposal helps us to achieve this for even more young people. So I ask that you support the recommendation to publish the statutory proposals to allow Melrose to expand to this additional site. Thank you.
Thank you for that. The lead director for this item is Jane McSherry, the Director of Children's Schools and Families. Jane, was there anything that you wanted to add to Councillor Stringer's introduction?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Fantastic. I know there's a financial implication for the council of not doing this. I think Councillor Byers, you just wanted to make a point as well.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As Councillor Stringer alluded to, many of these issues stem from the government's failure ultimately to properly fund us to support children with special educational needs. And we all know the impact that that's had on our budget in terms of the DSG overspend that we've seen in recent years. As Councillor Stringer alluded to, and as is set out in the report, it's far cheaper for us in revenue terms to provide good quality places locally rather than sending our children out of borough. And there's about a £20,000 difference in providing a state-funded special school place to an independent one. So that in itself is really important for us to do. And in respect of the site itself, as is set out again in the report, by making good use of what is a former school and effectively refurbishing it to provide this establishment rather than building a brand new school, there's a difference of about £7 million in capital costs. So I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Stringer and officers for all of their work on this, and I do wholeheartedly support the recommendation.
Yes, thank you for that. It's a very good point. There's revenue and capital savings here. The revenue savings amount to about £1.6 million a year, if I'm not wrong, and that's not far off of the equivalent of about 2% on the council tax. So if we were continuing to pay that extra, it would have a big impact. Alternatively, it would be very significant savings to services, presumably from the children's service, what's left of the non-statutory work that they do. So yes, thank you for drawing that. Can I also just say that I've spoken to Councillor Pauline Cowper several times, the councillor for Cannon Hill Ward, and she's impressed upon me the importance to residents of maintaining this site for educational purposes. The alternative would be it could be allocated for residential use, but obviously that would not be a straightforward planning application, is likely to be resisted by a number of the parents there. So I'd like to thank Councillor Cowper for drawing our attention and standing up for her residents on that matter. But with all of that in mind, are we happy to agree the recommendations, which are recommendation 1?
Chair, I think Caroline Holland might have wanted to come in.
I'm so sorry, I missed you on the screen.
That's quite all right, Chair, and thank you. I suppose it was just to emphasise that the revenue savings have already been built into our current DSG deficit recovery plan. So that's quite an important aspect for you to be aware of. So if by going ahead, that helps. but it's something that we've already planned to do. So if there was an issue, then that would have some significant financial consequences for us. Thank you.
That's much more eloquently put than I tried to make. Thank you very much, Caroline Holland, for that. So can we agree to recommendation 1? Okay, that's agreed. Thank you for that. Then we'll go back just to item 9, which is the expansion of Merton Medical Education Services, following some work that we've been doing there, and leading on that is Councillor Stringer again.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, this paper, item 9, provides an update to Cabinet on the feedback from a consultation we held earlier in the year. This was on a proposal to use the building that is currently the only local authority run nursery, Lavender London Road, to instead be used for the growing numbers of children who temporarily need to come out of mainstream school for medical needs run by the Merton Medical Education Service. The paper also provides an updated proposal that we want to engage parents with. So firstly, I'd like to thank all the residents and staff who engaged with the consultation, particularly the parents of both nursery and Merton Medical Education Service children, who made very heartfelt responses about the importance of both services. We've listened carefully to the consultation responses and undertaken further work as a result. While all respondents agreed that finding a new home for the physically and mentally unwell pupils who use Merton Medical Education Services, given that there are now so many pupils in need that they are temporarily being taught in an old office block or often having to be homeschooled, many respondents questioned whether Lavender Nursery site is the best place for them, given it has been providing a much-loved nursery service. And some questioned whether there are alternatives for their medical education services. So since that consultation, officers have worked hard to investigate all the alternatives suggested and any other ideas that we could come up with. No alternative site has been found, which wouldn't cost at the very least £5 million, if not £10 million to the council, and take many years. So if we were to pursue these options, that would mean having to find significant sums from other budgets. Meanwhile, the statutory responsibility and a local ambition is to offer suitable education for the growing numbers of pupils who have high levels of mental health problems, and that hasn't gone away. However, it was very clear that some nursery parents felt that the removal of the nursery service would leave a gap in the local childcare market. We have taken the time to investigate a new option that we would like to discuss now with parents and staff. This would involve shifting the nursery service to another local children's centre, either Bond Road or Lavender Steersmead. Current children would be offered a place, and then the service would become focused on filling what we agree is a gap in the market. That is, affordable, high-quality care for low-income families of 2 to 3-year-old children. This aligns with our political priorities as a Labour Council to focus our increasingly limited resources on families most in need. It would also protect many of the jobs of the excellent staff at the nursery. Thanks again to all the consultation respondents and to officers for their work on developing the proposals. And following agreement of these recommendations, we look forward to discussing the options with those affected. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, the lead director on this is Jane McSherry. Was there anything you'd like to add to that, Jane?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Okay, fantastic. So as I understand it, what we're committing to is to continue the dialogue with parents and with staff, with a very much a new option on the table to talk to them about arising from the consultation that we've been through already. A proposal to continue and to retain the Lavender Nursery at a nearby site, and therefore keep the benefits of that service there. Can I move to the recommendations A and B? Okay, they're agreed. Thank you. So we've done item 10, agenda item 10. So we move next to item 11, which is about joining the Lift the Ban coalition. I'm pleased to say that, that Marcy Skeet, you're the lead member on this.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to start by saying thank you to the officers involved, in particular Everett Willis, for her work on this report, for a cause that is very important to me. Thank you all. I would also like to thank the involvement of Merton Citizens and the Citizens UK, who are passionate about improving people's lives. The UK is seen as a safe place for thousands of people who are forced to flee their home country because of violence and persecution. It should not be so difficult for those who are seeking asylum here. They are denied their right to work while they wait for a decision on their asylum claim. It is dehumanizing, punitive, and financially crippling. As part of the Ban Coalition, the Council will be putting pressure on the government to give the right to work in any occupation for everyone waiting for more than 6 months on a decision of their asylum claim. The government must do the right thing and give asylum seekers the right to work. This will give them financial security, dignity, and the ability to live full lives in their communities. I am proud to be presenting this report, and I urge my colleagues to support my call for Merton Council to join the Lift the Ban Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. That's absolutely fantastic. I'd just like to thank the lead officer on this, which was Everett Willis, our Equality and Community Cohesion officer. But the lead director is Chris Lee. Chris, did you have anything that you would like to add to Marcy's points?
No, nothing to add, Chair.
Very good. And I'd like to pay tribute to Marcy for the work that she's done on this and working with the community to persuade everybody to sign up to Lift the Ban. I'm looking at the recommendation actually, and it says that that Cabinet should consider if Merton Council should join the Lift the Ban. But obviously, I think what we're deciding is that that Merton should join the Lift the Ban coalition. It's not right that that refugees should be treated in the way that they are, and I think it's great that we're able to support that cause. And I really like to pay tribute to Marcy for taking such a strong lead on this and working with the community to get it done in the fashion that she has. So with that slight change, are we happy to agree the recommendation? Excellent. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on now to the next item, item 12, which is called Capital Letters. And it's back to Councillor Martin Welton to lead.
Thank you, Chair. I formally move the recommendations as set out in the report. This report sets out reasoning for joining the Pan-London Capital Letters, which will help collaboratively procure new properties on behalf of London boroughs, supported by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government. The housing pressures on low-income households in Merton and London generally has never been greater, and it is necessary to develop new and innovative pathways to increase housing supply. As a council, we have been working on new models which would enable better outcomes for homeless and at-risk households, the result of which is capital letters. Pressures on the council have been increasing because of COVID-19, but also as well the anticipated increase in homelessness applications following the ban on evictions ending on the 31st of May. As a council, Merton has no social housing stock, but we are reliant on housing associations and agreed nomination rights to meet housing need. Whilst Merton holds no stock, it remains responsible in housing nominations to those homes, including the most acute form, i.e. homelessness. There continues to be a high demand for accommodation in the borough. Over 9,000 people are currently on a housing register, and we have 197 in expensive temporary accommodation. Through the work of officers, this is the lowest number in London. but it's still 197 too many in my eyes. There is also greater reliance on the private rented sector in Merton for both temporary and permanent housing solutions. And a key challenge in Merton is affordability. The local housing allowance rates are the maximum amount housing benefit that can be claimed by tenants who want to rent a home from private landlord. Nearly across the borough, LH8 rates are above that limit, and tenants must make up the shortfall from other income. Waiting for an offer of a social housing tenancy in Merton is increasingly not a realistic option, and we are likely to end a homelessness duty with an offer of a private rented sector property. Despite all our efforts to secure more properties in Merton, households often have to be housed elsewhere where housing is more affordable. The demand continues to be one of the major challenges that this council faces, with high demand being primarily driven by households being evicted from the private rented sector. Due to the lack of supply of social housing, the council is using the power to meet huge demand from homeless households with accommodation in the private rented sector. Because there is insufficient supply that is affordable in Merton. Capital Letters is one of the initiatives which will help to increase the supply of private rented accommodation, reduce the cost of accommodation, and reduce the need for households to be accommodated out of the borough. This Pan-London initiative should achieve economies of scale and reduce the competition between boroughs for this type of accommodation. It is hoped Merton will benefit significantly from the numbers of properties procured by Capital Letters, thus reducing our homelessness costs. Additionally, the procurement of private rented properties offers the opportunity in terms of the discharge of housing duties. Let me make this clear. The housing crisis is very real here in Merton. What we do need to build is generally more social homes for rent. But we have to recognise that sadly, some people are homeless, given there is 60,000 people who are living in TA in London. Therefore, I ask Cabinet to formally approve this report and our application to join Capital Letters. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. And the lead director on this occasion is the Director for Community and Housing, Hannah Doody. Hannah, did you have anything that you would like to add to Martin's introductions?
Nothing further to add, Chair. Thank you.
Very good. The recommendations for this are recommendations A and B. They're agreed. They're agreed. Thank you very much. To move on to the next agenda item, agency worker contracts. The lead member on that is Councillor Tobin Byers.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can I start by thanking Ruth Poulter and her colleagues for the work that they've done on this. This paper seeks the approval for the award of a contract for the supply of temporary agency workers. The proposal is to award a 2-year contract commencing in December 2021 with the potential to extend for a further 2 years, and that decision would be delegated to the Director of Corporate Services and the Cabinet Member for Finance. The estimated value of the contract is £13 million per annum. As the paper sets out, a procurement exercise was undertaken, 3 bids were received, one of which was disqualified, and the other 2 bids were then assessed against quality, technical evaluation and price. The scoring is contained in the green papers, which I won't refer to, but colleagues will note that the proposed contractor is the current incumbent. As set out in the paper, the incumbent uses a vendor-neutral solution rather than a master vendor model, and as noted, the council has been well served by this model during the course of the pandemic, where we've been able to recruit temporary workers to numerous roles with relative ease compared to other boroughs who use the master vendor model. So I would thank officers again for their work on this and commend the recommendation to colleagues. Thank you.
Fantastic. And the lead director on this occasion is the Director of Corporate Services, Caroline Holland. Caroline, did you want to add anything to Tobin's introduction?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Fantastic. Thank you to everyone. We can't see any further speakers. So can we agree to recommendations A to C, please, as per the paper? Fantastic. That's agreed. Item 14 is the appointment of committees and proposed changes to the Constitution. I'm scheduled in the paperwork as the lead member on this, but I'd like the Cabinet Member for Finance to speak on this. So over to you again, Tobin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can I start by thanking Louise Round for all the work that she's done on this, and members of the working group who have been looking at the Constitution over the past year or so. I know a huge amount of work has gone on this. I can say that because I've reviewed all of the papers that are due to go to standards and general purposes on Monday evening. So I do know that a huge amount has gone into it from both Louise and the members of the group. This paper essentially seeks to do two things. It seeks Cabinet approval of a number of appointments, and then it sets out some proposed changes to the Constitution which are for Cabinet to approve, as opposed to changes that are going through standards and general purposes. If I deal with the appointment of committees first, at recommendations A, B and C, Cabinet is asked to appoint Cabinet members to sit on various bodies. So in respect of the South West London Joint Waste Management Committee, I believe the Cabinet nominees will be Councillor Natasha Irons and myself, Councillor Tobin Byers, and the substitute members will be Councillor Mark Allison and Councillor Martin Welton. In respect of recommendation B, 2 Cabinet members to sit on the Wandle Valley Regional Park Trust. Cabinet appointees will be Councillor Natasha Irons and Councillor Caroline Cooper Marbella. And in respect of recommendation C, the recommendation is to appoint Councillor Mark Allison, the leader of the council, to the South London Partnership Joint Committee. In respect of the proposed changes to the Constitution, there are broadly 3 areas of changes which are outlined in the paper. The first is at paragraph 2.4 of the report, which is responsibility for executive functions, and this is set out in detail at Appendix 3A, and broadly it provides greater clarity on decisions which can only be taken by the Cabinet, and those are set out at the bottom of pages 166 and the top of page 167. All other matters can be determined by officers, although that doesn't prevent Cabinet taking the decision itself. And within Appendix 3A, reference has been added to the South London Waste Partnership, and reference has been removed to the Memorandum Subcommittee. The second area is the scheme of delegation to officers, and that's set out at paragraph 2.5 onwards. And broadly, the Constitution, as it was, had a number of different provisions relating to delegation. So what's been done is to bring all of those together in one place to make it a little bit more user-friendly. There's also a move away from delegating everything to the Chief Executive, who then in practice delegates onwards, and specific posts are cited as delegation rather than it all going through the Chief Executive. And there's provision for taking urgent decisions in consultation with the Cabinet member. And the third area is around the Cabinet procedure rules, and that's set out at paragraph 210, and that's largely drafting changes to ensure consistency. I know Louise is on the line somewhere, so I'm sure she can add more detail if necessary or address any questions, but I do add my thanks again to her because I know she has been buried in the Constitution for the past year or so. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I add my thanks as well. Thank you so much to Louise. Also, the lead officer, lead director, this is Caroline Holland again, the Director of Corporate Services. I don't know, Tobin's report seemed very comprehensive. Was there anything that you would like to add, or is there anything you'd like to bring Louise in to illuminate us on?
I certainly don't think I could add anything to what Councillor Byers has already said, but I'm happy to see if Louise has anything further she wishes to add. Thank you.
No, thank you, Leader. Just to echo my thanks to the working group who've borne with me over the last year to get us to this stage. It's been a very collaborative and collegiate affair. And Councillor Irons has been sharing the pain, so thank you to her too.
Well, it's good to hear that the pain has been shared anyway. That's very reassuring. Thank you to everybody who's been involved in this. It has been a very long and detailed process, and I'm really impressed by it all. Can we agree to recommendations A to H? Okay, that's agreed. So we'll move on to the final full item of the night, which is to note as opposed to make a decision. Anyway, it's an important issue, and I'd like just to bring it to people's attention that we're bringing it in. It's the inclusion of miscarriage and stillbirth as specified categories into the bereavement. The lead member would like to speak on that is Councillor Marcy Skeet.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank the officers, in particularly Caroline Holland and Liz Hammond, the leader, Mark Allison, and my cabinet colleague, Tobin Byers. By expanding the council staff leave policy, Martin will be one of the first councils in the country to give bereavement leave after the early loss of a pregnancy. It is right that we may support our staff through the tragedy of miscarriage or stillbirth. We know that up to 1 in 4 pregnancies end in this way. And we know that this can be very upsetting time for people. So I'm proud that the council is stepping up so that the members of staff can have between 5 to 10 days of paid bereavement leave to help give them the time and space needed to mourn their loss. I commend the report to my cabinet colleagues to note. Thank you.
No, that's really, really good. Thank you, Councillor Skeet. I'm very pleased to see we're doing even more to be a good employer and to be respectful and sensitive to our staff. And I think we're leading by example here. Is there, once again, the Director for Corporate Services is here as the lead director on the issue. Did you have any further you'd like to add, Caroline?
Nothing further to add, Chair.
Okay, well, it's a very nice note to have as our final item tonight. So thank you to everybody who's been involved in getting that approved. I'm personally very happy that it's happening, and that the issue we're able to talk about it and normalise it and bring it into the bereavement policy, rather than the current situation where staff have had to either go into work or try and take leave through other means. So it's really good progress, and I do appreciate everybody who's worked on that. So can we agree to recommendation A there, which is to note that the policy has been introduced? That's fantastic. And so that actually is the last item today. And I know everyone is in a rush because there's something else happening at the moment that I'm sure some of us are very keen to find out about. But before we do go, can we all as Cabinet please extend our thanks to the amazing staff at Democratic Services and in the staff who helped to run the council's buildings, for making this hybrid meeting go ahead so smoothly, with social distancing ensured and safe COVID-19, and everybody able to join in different places and make some good decisions. Can we all agree to thank all our staff for their work? Excellent. On that note, goodbye everybody. Thank you for your time.